Tanzania, the country as it is, the economy, as well as the reforms which have been undertaken since 1985. We undertook a number of reforms because Tanzania was a central planned economy. So during when the perestroika started, Tanzania was one of the first country which changed its approach in economic management towards economic liberalization, and where all the factor production were declared to be under the control of private sector and public sector. Pursuant to that, a number of regulation and laws which govern a state of play in the economy were put in place and are still being put in place. Even institutions which were servicing the business sector but were more public oriented or in terms of outlook were also are realigned to understand that they have to operate in a new environment of private-led economy. In this context, therefore, policies also were needed to be developed. There are a lot of policies which were made again to address new situation. One of it is the SME policy, which I think I've sent you some document. I hope that Professor Bruce, you've distributed the documents to.
We have. We made it required reading.
And that reading, what have been happening in the SME sector. So today, I'm going to discuss about business environment reform in Tanzania to increase participation of SMEs in the economy. First of all, before I go further, I'll just try to discuss about what Tanzania vision is. Being a small country, we don't want to continue to be a small country forever. We want to participate in a global economy. And that our vision is that Tanzania Development Vision foresee that by year 2025, Tanzania should have created a strong, diversified, resilient, and competitive economy which can effectively cope with the challenges of development and which can also easily, confidently adapt to the changing market and technological condition in the region and the global economy. It is from this overall vision SME policy is projected or situated. We all understand the definition of SME differ from country to country because the document which I provided comprise information related to how we categorize SMEs in terms of employment, in terms of investment and so forth. I don't want to go to those details which will be purely academic and may not interest you. But I would like to say what overall challenge of SMEs we face in a least developing country like Tanzania. This could be very different from what you see here in a developed economy. One of it is that SME, important as they are to the economy, have been facing a number of problems despite the ongoing reforms programs in Tanzania. This is due to a number of factors, one of which is persistent culture that has not recognized the value of entrepreneur initiative in improving life of the people. Let me explain what is that. When your government is pursuing central planned economy, people believe that everything will be done by the government. And in the process, they lose that entrepreneurial culture. So to change the mindset and the attitude toward business, it takes them time. And therefore, a lot of promotion need to be undertaken, and it's being done to make sure that people realize that there's opportunity out there, and that they are the people who are supposed to play part in that economy to boost the growth of the economy. The other factor is that include complex bureaucratic, costly, legal, regulatory, and administrative environment where SME are at greater disadvantage than their counterparts that are larger in size. I have to explain that one. A central planned economy, usually what it does, it goes to fine regulatory to micromanagement of everything to see that nothing is lost, but usually it does loss. But they try to make sure that they are so fine in management, put so much regulation, which in the process it inhibit the state of play in business, because the business need invisible hand to help it perform. And there are a lot of factors which assist the economy. So these factors have been declining since we started reform, and the attitude are changing, the bureaucracy are decreasing, very alarming. That's why Tanzania economy has been registering a growth of 6 to 7%, because since 1985, over a span of 10 years, so many reforms have changed and have made this sector to perform better than it was at the beginning when we started reforms. The high cost of compliance to regulation that sometimes discourage potential entrepreneurs from setting up their business. Regulations are good, but regulation should be measured against what purpose it does serve. There is economics of regulation. Economics of regulation state that you have to develop a very fine balance of regulation and regulatory measures which will not stifle the competitive attitude and the business sector. There are some regulation which is counterproductive to business, and this should be seen in the context of how best they can be applied so much that they don't impinge the business sector. BEST program. We have developed a business environment strengthening for Tanzania. It's called BEST program. It's basically designed to reduce the burden where possible, to remove all streamline regulatory administrative constraint on the private sector operation. It is also intended to ensure an efficient and effective delivery of service to the private sector. This institution was financed and is still being financed by United States, been helping Denmark, United Kingdom. So what did they do? They look at all those regulations which are in the country, including the practices which impinge private sector, to make sure that they do not impinge the performance of private sector. The second factor emphasized by the Entrepreneurship framework is access to credit and other form of financial services. As you know, it's well known that fostering an adequate flow of financing for SME is a crucial step in enhancing entrepreneurship and creating vibrant economy. We came up with thinking that how can we make sure that the real poor people can access the can start and establish SMEs, and can even go to the financial sector to secure loans and finances. So we created an institution called Tanzania Property and Business Formalization Program. This was founded to empower the marginalized majority in the formal sector so that they can use their properties and business assets and other opportunities in the modern market economy, and thus include the income. For example, in Tanzania, so many people have land. Though they're not very well earmarked to them, you can only lease a land in Tanzania for 33 years, 66 years, and 99 years. So this asset formalization program has started a program of formalizing that land as a collateral for accessing loan to the poor people. Poor people have farm, but they can't buy inputs, they can't buy equipment and all those technologies that be in. So the government has intervened to put in place mechanism where they can have collateralize their assets so that they can secure loan, whether small or large enough. And initially the TFB was to empower the majority in the informal sector by recognizing the properties and register them to be used as collateral. The idea behind was to make maximum use of the property, business asset, as well as other opportunity to secure loans for opening up small-scale projects, thereby raising their income. For example, if you've got a vehicle, suppose you have a vehicle, you can take a short-term loan of maybe 1 month, and you can be given a loan, and that loan you can use it to do some small business, and you can recover you can pay back and recover your car back. So there are a lot of mechanisms which you can do to get short-term and finances. And as such, facilitators, they could effectively participate in the reduction of income poverty and contribute to the attainment of all targets. Let's talk about financing of SMEs in Tanzania. First of all, let me say, Tanzania has at least 26 international banks, has a number of financial services which deal with microcredit. You're going to see them, you're going to ask them questions when you go to Tanzania, you're going to understand how they operate, whether they do useful job to service to the country, to the people, whether their being there is not to make profit, rather if they contribute much to the entrepreneurs, budding one who are trying to enter the business sector. So the various form of financial intermediation microcredit scheme operate in Tanzania. The microfinance policy is in place. A number of banks, local and international, are operating in the country, mostly as commercial banks. But other forms of financing, such as venture capital, are yet to take root. As you know, venture capitalists could, they do participate in the economy, but they cannot operate with SMEs because the risk of doing business with small scale in a country where the institutions are not very strong for venture capitalists also they become risk averse. They try to see that how much can I recoup, because the venture capitalist would like to enter the market. You give him the management and everything to operate. What he does, he has to make profit for himself and leave the operation for you. So whatever that. So when they count number of years where they can recoup their money back as a venture capitalist, and whether the economy is fluid enough for him to make his quick profit and leave the business to you as a partner there, they see sometimes they may not recoup. But there are certain sectors where venture capitalists have invested in Tanzania with Tanzania counterpart, and they've done well, some of them. But some of them are still considering that in this developing country, it could be risk for them to invest, even if they could make profit. Amazingly, if you participate, excuse me, if you participate in a stock market in Dar es Salaam, you'll be surprised that any company which float shares, actually people, they oversubscribe, which show that the economy is very liquid, which show that the existing institution, financial institution, banks are not doing their job very well. It means that they are unable to collect this money from the people. Why? All the companies which are floated, they are always oversubscribed. It means that there is a market failure in the financial sector. So this is something you're going to find out. It will be very curious for you when you're in Dar es Salaam. Well, access to credit to SMEs is a major bottleneck that need to be looked into urgently. As I said, that banks are normally risk averse. And let's talk about SME related to business development services. As you know, we have also business development supported by appropriate institution, which cover things such as advisory services, technology provision, market information, standard quality accreditation and metrology, information on economic potential, investment regime, business training, management skills enhancement. I think this is what, Bruce, you're doing here most often, and most of us were learning how to do that kind of thing, to extend support to SMEs in a way of making them compliant to standard, conformity, quality assurance of product to meet the market expectation, where you target your exports, thing to do with metrology, which you look at, they call it, you accredit your metrological measurement against the other markets, or using international system of accreditation. And then their capacity and urgent service to need to be assessed, and the web lab or engineering institution. The last bullet means that we have a lot of institutions which were created during the command economy, on R&D, on standards, and so forth. Most of these institutions were being financed by the government to be operational, to create a critical mass of experts who will undertake research in many economic sectors, including research and industrial research and development. But because of reforms, government could not afford again to continue to finance them. So most of these institutions, they are all fledgling. They're not doing very well, and the government have started to think about how they can invest more funds in this institution to make sure that they can support SMEs. So there are schemes being created to make sure that the existing infrastructure of research and development institutions, standards and quality assurance institutions are strengthened in order to provide requisite support to the SMEs. We're facing challenge in Tanzania in terms of employment. For example, every year we have 700 people entering the job market, and each year it's a new year. You have 700 getting the market, but the public sector employ only 40,000 persons, and as you know, the growth of the private sector is not that high because there are so much of micro enterprises which are informal, which operate rather than formal, more formal. That's what you're going to see. You're going to see so much informal operation than the formal one. So you cannot page how much these are employing other people within the same market. Why some of these people, they try to avoid paying tax, because if you stay informal, it's easy for you to escape paying tax. And the government is trying to put in place mechanism where they're going to expand the tax base so that each operations will be netted in the tax base to help the government to increase the revenue versus GDP. So the other factor that jobs are shrinking, and because of different factors I mentioned, and as I said again, the informal sector is rising. But we have challenges again in infrastructure of private sector competitiveness because of lack of or inadequate hard transport, port, utilities, communications, social infrastructure, infrastructure for agriculture, soft financial and ICT service. Tanzania record mixed. For example, they're not that bad, but when we are discussing this about lack of this hard soft infrastructure, I'm relating to how fast you can use this infrastructure to do business. How fast is the let's talk about the internet connectivity. We're looking at the speed of which internet operates in those countries. It's very slow compared to what you have, because in these countries you're using fiber optic network. So there you have a lot of comparative advantage of how the information can flow. So for the business community, you have information asymmetry, because you take too long to get information, you get too long to respond to inquiries, to ask for certain information which is critical for your operation, and this is very counterproductive. Similarly, if your transport sector, infrastructure meaning roads and other rolling stock and stuff like that are not very efficient, not adequate, it will mean that you take a long time to take one point, product from one point to another. And to make profit means you have to go fast and coming right fast. You have to get information fast, and you have to relay information fast. This is what makes economy vibrant. So, and developing countries, almost mostly developed countries, they have the same feature which I'm talking about. You see them, and that's what we are trying to fight against, and making sure that they improve. So we in Tanzania we have now a system of plowing 30% of our budget to the infrastructure. We're trying to build a network of road infrastructure in Tanzania which will respond to these challenges. This year, 30% of our budget went to road infrastructure and schools, because we also think that we need skilled labor in the new market. We have also engaged ourselves in fiber optic cable. We have this AC cable, which is submarine cable of fiber optic, which distribute high-speed internet protocol. So we are going to link from South Africa, Tanzania, East African countries, and some countries in the Middle East are going to use that fiber instead of going through the green net, where we have to link up to London or link up to California. That you have a transaction cost and you lose money through the balance payment and capital account transfer. So we're trying to address those issues from different perspectives. We have another one which was which I should talk about, is the education skills in many areas. For example, there is a challenge of entering the global value chain. How fast do you get a product from the farm to the table? I mean, if you are talking about horticulture, you want to supply horticulture to hotels or to the market abroad, then it also depends how fast you can do that. Much as we do it, but we could have done better than that, because we've got arable land and so much land which we can produce more for the market. So we're trying to make sure that we improve skills of our capacity to produce. A combination of this plus infrastructure like road and so on, we should be able to access market faster than we should have, as we're doing now. And for example, now we have a problem which soft infrastructure such as finance, technology, access to foreign markets, entry into those markets. You need to have skill to enter into markets. You have to do market intelligence. You have to understand the market sentiments, to know that you have competitors out there and how much you can compete, your product can compete with the product from elsewhere, and how to have the intercultural communication between yourself and that country. For example, if you're going to sell in the United Arab Emirates, you have to know the culture of Arabs, to know how you can enter that market, how you can negotiate the contract, how you can negotiate your presence, and so on. So these are challenges which we really have need to train our people, our community to benefit from 21st century opportunities. But we have prospect of private sector development strategy of World Bank. We have some projects which we are getting assistance from World Bank. And other bilateral donors are helping us out there through our business council to make sure that the situation will not remain the same. So let me talk about the effort and intervention being made. We are enacting new laws and regulations like fair trade practice. And when you open up the market, you have practices which can be counterproductive to other business. You have got these monopolies. You've got this monopoly can cannibalize other businesses, and you have a malpractice of some business which could stifle or do transfer pricing. They can also try to collude so many malpractices which are well documented in textbooks. And you have institutional framework for implementation. If you have got laws, regulation, you still need a framework of how you're going to do it. And you have to make sure that the investment climate respond to risk portfolio. There are so many risk portfolio for business community that the climate should ensure that those risks are minimized. There is no environment which has no risk. Even the United States has risk, but how much a government put in place instruments to minimize the risk is very, very critical. That can give a platform for the business community to operate. We have investment center. We've got sector of economic growth, and we in different sectors. You're going to learn when you go to Tanzania. We have comparative advantage in agriculture, fisheries, because we've got abundant resource in that area, and we've started to develop fishery industries and so forth, where so many SMEs are bound. We have also institutions that support business like Board of External Trade, Tanzania Industrial Research Development, Tanzania Bureau of Standards, Small Industrial Development Organization, etc. The numbers are limited. You're going to get more information as you go there. So let me conclude that we think that SME is an important sector, and that is for the country like ours. We can't talk about big industries. We think that the way to go for us is to start small and then grow to big time industrial investment. So having said that, I thank you for your kind attention, Professor Bruce, and my colleagues. Thank you so much, all of it.
Thank you. Let's if we could, let's take some questions, and feel free to ask a very, very basic question, an economics question, a finance question. Ruben and Professor Otto, you're also, please. And the people from Westchester, just raise their hand. But even not directly related, work at the United Nations, whatever you'd like, because we have time, and while we have Minister Mero here, I'd like to take advantage. So any question related to Tanzania, international finance, his role at the UN, whatever you'd like.
Yes, please.
What kind of small and medium-sized business? Oh, sorry. What kind of small and medium-sized businesses have been very prosperous or have been the most successful?
That's a very good question. Let me put it this way. In 1973, we established this Small Industry Development Organization. This organization, during that command height of economy, was complementary to basic industrial strategy. Let me surprise you. Tanzania, when we got independence, we had only one industry, which was producing biscuits. Biscuits, the one which you chew every day, biscuits. Because we were not a colony of British, so all manufacturing was in Kenya. So our country was so poor. We had only 2 engineers and 1 doctor. People are not educated at all. So why we chose to follow the central plan economy is because we had to do many things ourselves. One of the things was to make sure that everyone go up to university for free. And Nyerere made sure that we go to school for free. I went to school for free up to university. And myself, I must confess. And many of us of my age, they did that. We had to provide health facilities to all people in Tanzania for free. We had to make sure that rural development was very important. Many things which are in Millennium Development Goal belong to Nyerere, and I tell you, look for books of Nyerere, you will read what they're recycling at the UN. They're just recycling what Nyerere said. They don't acknowledge him, they don't respect him, and he did so much. For people who know what Nyerere did in this world, for developing country, how much he documented how developing countries should be seeing the development so that they can reach other comparative countries at that time, you'll be surprised. There are books he wrote, a lot of them, and if you have keen interest, and anyone will be interested, look for those books and see, compare it with the books, what is written in you, and you'll be surprised that he said everything. What he said, I'll tell you what, for example. He said that if you want to develop, you need people, good leadership, and land. You need land, people, smart people, and good leadership. And he said that corruption has no room. He said that in 1963, that during his leadership, he will not entertain corruption because it's against economic development. He said in 1963, he did not say today. Sorry. So, back to what I'm trying to say. So, in 1972, he decided to establish basic industrial strategy. This strategy developed a whole structure of basic industrial infrastructure. Just name it, from chemical, textile, iron and steel, just name it. The whole range up to food industry. And it was financed by the World Bank. Most debt you say that Tanzania has was financing the infrastructure, because he said even if you've got capitalists, they will not invest in this country, the state it is. We have to put at least infrastructure so that someone can come and buy and invest in this one, because you have nothing on the ground. That's what he did. Parallel to that, he said you cannot create medium and large industry without small industry. So we developed centers of SMEs in 4 zones: Moshi, Tabora, Mbeya, and Dar es Salaam. What he did, he created buildings, infrastructure, where if you're a small-scale guy, you go to the bank. He created also the access to finance, where you borrow the money, buy machine. The bank buy machine for you, for whatever you want to produce according to your plan, and you put there. So what you do, you produce from that infrastructure, and then pay back the rent and so forth for that building. So we have infrastructure which was built back in 1973, and they've been growing to do that. Therefore, many production sectors in SMEs have been there since 1973. And people were doing that, just private people. It was not the government. And in Tanzania, it was not purely communism. Private people existed part in part with the public sector. So there was complementarity with that. In terms of business, which business is SME is doing very well? The production in Tanzania is not doing very well because of problem of electricity. So many SMEs run away from production because they face the risk of electricity and utilities, which eat away the profitability. You look at the balance sheet that if you look at the cost center, if you see that the cost center are lying too much in your utilities, then you change your business strategy, you do something else. So many of them, they're in the service sector such as tourism, because of abundance of national parks and things like that. Services sector, like hotel, restaurant, supplies, just name it. There are so many SMEs in different sectors, which not so much of production are there, but they're not performing as the service sector. So, service sector does well in Tanzania in many areas, especially SMEs. They're performing very well. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if I answered your question.
You did. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, lady. Sorry.
So you said that there's a lot of small businesses that aren't real businesses because they don't pay taxes, like not, you know what I mean?
40%.
The formal versus informal economy.
40%, yeah.
40%.
Informal sector.
So what is the government trying to do? Like, do they make the taxes a little bit lower to have these informal businesses actually become formal and,
Yeah,
because there's no incentive for them to become formal businesses.
You're very right. We have two challenges, or more than two challenges that we're facing. First of all, if the regulatory system is so harsh to the business sector, it is counterproductive, and then they find that they don't want to pay tax for such a difficult environment. So we're trying to regulate this environment through the institution which we've created, and most of them now are seeing that its profit is good for them to pay tax. The situation was that many private SME would love to be informal, but when the institutions start to work better, they have no problem joining that. So the government has a challenge of strengthening the institution that promote and supervise the regulatory institution.
But what's the incentive for these small businesses to actually come to the government and start paying the taxes? What's the incentive for the ones that haven't been paying?
Now we've got a revenue authority, which is a police-like thing.
No,
so
that's there.
So they're in trouble. but that's not enough. It's revenue authority.
That makes sense.
It's like a police. They catch you. They've got a law there. If they want to apply, you're in trouble. We have same strict law regulation like here, but the government try to be fair, not to be so strict to the extent that businesses are closing, but try to say that you're going to pay fine, this much fine. So they pay a lot of fine, some of them. They do. I had this, and then I'll come to you, sorry. Yeah. Yes.
You were talking about having a good investment climate and talking about some foreign investment. Is there any countries that you want to attract more than others, or some that you want to detract from investment?
That's a very good question. But for us, we think that a trap is a trap. If it's catch the fish, it's a trap. We don't care who come to invest. What we care, is it a clean investment? Is it, we have got institution to check that some money laundering is not taking place. We have a regulation and institution. And we have aligned ourselves internationally to institution. Mr. Ibu, I think I'm right?
Yeah.
We have an institution which see that clean money come to the country. We are not desperate. We want to develop slowly. We want to develop slowly. We are comfortable the way we are, poor as we can be, but we think that we better go slow way so that we catch up with lessons. You remember America 200 years ago was like Tanzania, but then they took time. They invested time. People had vision, like Rockefeller, started to build up things, then through improvement of regulation and things like that. That's why you have better environment, because over years we've been improving the regulation. Because even if you have regulation, if you overly enforce them, then it becomes political problem, So we also take a balance of enforcing regulation, but at the same time don't make it to be counterproductive and create political sentiments also, to that extent. Yes, sir. Rumit, you did, okay. Then I'll come to you, and then Rumit. Thank you.
Excuse me, because this ain't really about SMEs, but I've been reading about Tanzania, and I've noticed there's not anything really on sports and recreation. I was just watching the World Cup, or the African Cup, and I've noticed a lot of my friends are from Ghana, and they're boasting about the national pride of Ghana. So does soccer. Does Tanzania take place in any of the local sporting, or?
I didn't get the last part of the question.
Okay.
Can you focus your question so that you said a lot of things, but I don't understand what's the question.
What about sporting? Is there any big sports in Tanzania, or?
Yeah, sports. You mean
like soccer, or
so?
When I come across, I don't see anything on
okay.
organizations or like recreational teams or anything like that.
Yeah,
it's not. I know it's not your expertise. It's just more of an interest.
No. It's a good question. No. It's all a good question. Let me say this. Thank you for your question. First of all, let me say that sports is an important business. You know how much the Manchester make per annum? You know they are in 100 FTC 100. I did a research on that. I did a research in the stock market of London Stock Exchange, and I counted all 100 FTC companies. And if I can give even the risk portfolio of all companies, from Colgate, whatever, and all those which operate there. But you'll be surprised that the Manchester United, Leeds, they're all in stock exchange. They make a lot of money. It's business, so soccer is good as long as it's well managed. The problem we have in developing countries is that, for example, in Tanzania, we never had a strong institution that manage sports. We have weakness in institutions that manage sports. We have institutions which exist, but we've never had good managers of this institution to make sure that sports grow in that country. We've had sports in certain ministry thinking that if you put sports in the ministry, it could do well, but no, because in sports you need to train your people, you need facilities, you need to expose your team, you need to invest in it. Actually, you are supposed to invest good money. All those sports you see in the world, there are people who are interested to put a lot of money in it. Either it is for businessmen to put money in sports or the government to put money in it. We don't have many businesses who have enough money to do that. Neither the government has so many priorities, it doesn't know which priority to start and which one to end. So it doesn't concentrate much with the sports because it sees it as a perennial problem. It's thinking that maybe the problem of my people now is hunger. Let me buy food, import food. Maybe it's that, but it's if the government was serious, could see that there is also money in sports. So I don't disregard sports as that it's not important. It's good. For Ghana and other countries, maybe they had a good start on how they manage sports. Probably for us, we've had up and down institutions, and maybe leadership of the institution were not good enough. Maybe the oversight of those institutions also is not good enough. So the sport managers have not been doing well, and nobody's taking care of them. And that's the challenge which the president always make reference. But we have built a very international sport pitch for sports, for soccer, of international standard in Dar es Salaam. To encourage sports. The government did that. They say, okay, you can say our stadium is not good enough. So the government decided to build that infrastructure which take care of all type of sports, including basketball, including table tennis. We used to have one, but it was small, not good enough, not big, not even international standard. So we have now international standard soccer pitch. When you go to Dar es Salaam, you're welcome. It's somewhere in Kurasini, close to it.
Let me-
Rubit will take you there if he's there.
I just want to ask if the people in Westchester, if you have a question, just raise your hand. And also, if the people here, when you ask a question, if you just push the button once, the red light will come on. And then when you're done, turn it off just to include our friends to the north. So you just push it once, the red light comes on, ask the question, and then push it and the red light goes off.
May I add something to follow up on that question?
Thank you.
I know you are responding to sports.
Yeah.
It also covers sports entertainment.
Yeah.
One of the emerging businesses truly is in this area, in Tanzania, but all of East Africa and Africa. You're going to see that, for instance, music is becoming professional. Okay, and this for many years was not.
Yeah.
But if you go to Africa, music certainly we think is our tradition. But now it has become a business. So I'm hoping that in Dar es Salaam you'll take the team to one of the clubs.
But the only joke. I can guarantee you, you'll never want to come back.
Yeah. So there are musicians, and we already have our version of the Grammy Award, which is more or less in Africa. Most of the time, it is actually held in South Africa, right? Yeah, South Africa, I think. So a lot of musicians are contesting a lot. So you're going to see some of that emerging. This is not 20 years. In fact, over the last 10 years, it's just emerging. A lot of people recording music and so on.
And I'll surprise you, we have got good studios of young people like yourself. We have some young millionaires there who are exploiting new technology to produce music, to produce movies. You'll be surprised that there is a catch-up theory going on there, but we still need to support it more by putting in place better infrastructure. And like I said, that we're trying to see that the internet and worldwide access become better, so that the service sector perform even better. Ruby, you had a question.
Push your button.
I actually wanted to go back to two questions about hers as a follow-up.
Yeah.
A few years ago, I don't have the numbers in my head. A few years ago, somebody had done a study about the informal sector in Nigeria.
In Nigeria?
In Nigeria.
Yes.
One of the biggest, highest population countries in Africa.
Yeah.
And they said that there was such a huge informal sector that if the government managed to regulate it, like providing them business licenses or an official place to do business, the government has gained something to the effect of $250 million in revenue or something. Has Tanzania done some kind of, or do you have any numbers? They say 40% is informal, but if the government is trying to regulate them in some fashion, by giving them an incentive to do business officially and business, are there any figures that the government can say, we will gain X amount of revenue a year?
Oh yeah, those are comparative strategic analysis which we need to do it so that we can inform the policymakers to regulate the business environment. There must be numbers, but I don't have them for the time being. Somebody has numbers there. Maybe I did not ask before I came here, but there must be numbers. And things have been going on. There are so many reforms going on at home. It's difficult also to count all of them. But we also have areas which we are trying to address, which we're not doing very well, and we think that we have to make a mileage in them. One of the things is that it's not true that people like businessmen or small businessmen want to stay informal. It's the harsh condition, which I mentioned in the second PowerPoint presentation, that makes them to hide, because they find that their profitability margin is not good enough, and then if they count up that they have to pay tax, because cost centers depend very much on the environment you operate. If the environment you operate is so costly to you, even if you are too stingy, you don't find enough money to pay for the tax. So but sometimes you might be operating in a good environment, but because everybody is saying that there's a problem, you are in a bandwagon as well. So it's a very delicate balance to say which is which, but certainly we still have to refine our environment for small scale. The big scale investment, they're doing very well in Tanzania. We are doing very well because they have so many dispositions with the make. They pay VAT, whatever, so on, but they operate very well because they have high capital outlay than the small guys. Because $100 profit of $100 every 10% is $10. Think of a micro enterprise. That investment is $500. Let's say Grameen Bank, right? You get a Grameen Bank, you get $500. You invest to small business $500. 10% of $500 is $50, right? That's a profit, maybe. Let's say profit. Maybe you're so lucky your profit is 20%. So you're talking about $100 in $500 investment. So it depends whether your product is selling or not. So if you get the same for a week, then how much do you consume and how much do you keep? How much do you pay tax? So it depends very much how much you support the SME. I don't know if I answered the question.
No, you answered it very well.
Thank you. Sir.
I have a question about exports. I know that Tanzania is very well known for their wildlife and for specifically their prongs. You guys are well known for prongs, and I had a friend who wanted to start a business to export prongs from Tanzania to Spain, because in Spain they eat prongs a lot. But for some reason, I don't know, as a foreigner going into Tanzania, what kind of political barriers do you have with existing companies already there who might have already a monopoly?
Okay, thank you. That's a very, very difficult question, but I will answer it in different dimensions. It's true that Tanzania has very good prawns. Why? Because our prawns, you get them from the river delta. The best prawn in the world come from the delta. In the delta, the nutrients which they feed these prawns make them to be tastier than anything. And this you can feed it very costly than those artificial prawns. You can breed prawns in a pond, like they do in Malaysia. I think they have a pond somewhere where they breed all of them and then they export all over the world. Those are artificial prawns. But when you are rich enough, you want to eat expensive prawn, it can cost you $20 per ounce. I think I don't know whatever.
Yeah, I think the margins were very high.
The margins, because they're natural prawns, bred naturally in the river delta. The nutrient content of those prawns is unimaginable, and only rich people they buy this at a very costly price. But also you can use the same area to grow prawns artificially along the same delta, but you can create artificial they call limnology to create that, to breed prawns. Somebody wanted to do that, and we told them, no, you're going to destroy the ecosystem, because there's that concentration. Because why? At the delta, the pH of water is 7 at the delta, because the delta is between the sea and the cold water. The cold water which come there before it go to the river is still pH 7. It's natural water. The moment it go near the sea, because of salt, the pH go to beyond 7. It become more basic, or maybe it become acidic, because in the sea there's sulfates, there's all this kind of so it becomes more acidic. So there you don't find good prawns. Maybe you can find good lobsters. We said that no one will try to bring up to breed prawns near the delta, and we had a lot of problems. Even we had one American who wanted to do that. Use all the means he wanted to do, and then we just told him, no, we cannot sign that contract because we don't want to destroy that environment. If you want to do it, go and do it elsewhere, but not where there's a natural ecosystem where prawns grow. Fishing. Today, fishing industry is the biggest in the world. East Africa presents the best fauna of fish than anywhere in the world. Why? Because we do not have a lot of industrial base, so therefore there is no acidity in that area. So the fisheries you find in that area is the best species you can get in the world, and because of the warm climate which exists in the tropical, and the Benguela current to make that warm area, the breeding of fish of different type is abound. And therefore in Europe, fishing is done by big trawlers. Trawlers which can scoop so many fish and so on. What they do, pirate fisheries, they come and fish without permission. You know that in any country, the international border of the sea, of the ocean, is 200 miles from the coastal area. So you put, if you are a developing country, you don't have enough equipment to do reconnaissance in that area. You have so many pirates who come to fish in your area, and they, of course, by using trawlers, it's so dangerous because trawlers pull everything from the sea, including even the young fish. The young school of fish, they're all carried by the trawler and so forth. So you reach a point that you will not find any fish again after a number of years. So we have been having problem with that type of arrangement. But also some fisheries from Europe, from Portugal, from Italy, from Greece, they would like to fish in our area without paying tax. You can give them today permit, they fish for some few days, and then they declare that they've moved to another country, and then they come with the same Christian vessel and do piracy as well. So we've been having problems with those. But I can't identify the particular person you're talking about. But I'm talking about the economics and the problem of management of long coast shore. We have got a very long coast shore. So we also have a difficulty of managing that one because it's so huge. It needs a lot of equipment, need a lot of support, and so on. And that's when we say that we need support to manage the cost. So, coming to sea fauna, we've got an island called Mafia. They're the best for those people who like scuba diving. It's the best in the world. Ted Turner, Bill Gates, all these people who are very famous. They come there to do their scuba diving because that's the area where the island it has not been exploited so much. So the fauna there, if you want to see, to do the marine tourism in that area, is the best. You can compare it with one place in Mauritius called Grand Bay in Mauritius. There's a place called Grand Bay in Mauritius where you have very good fauna too, but they use submarine tourist kind of vessel there. So someone was trying to introduce in Tanzania the same submarine vessel. That is tourism submarine vessel, which you are in that submarine, but you see the sea fauna. It's very interesting. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, madam.
All right. You were saying that loans from the World Bank helped finance the investment in infrastructure in Tanzania. I was just wondering, does the World Bank put any kind of stipulation on those loans? Because like in the Caribbean, when we borrow from the World, we used to borrow from the World Bank, they would say, well, you have to, open up your markets more to like foreign trade, and then that kind of squashes the local folks who are trying to be entrepreneurs and have their own business. Does that happen in Tanzania?
Let me talk about the World Bank and IFC and things like that. World Bank has a three branch. I've got IDA, that's a total grant regime. That's a grant regime. It helps countries to develop, or if they're in a straitjacket, they help to get out of crisis. That's IDA. Suppose you have a problem of which face Mozambique or the tsunami, something like that. IDA could come and help you, and you don't pay back because it's part of the IDA, International Development Agency. And that's a branch of it. But you've got IFC, it's a branch which deals with investment banking. And you've got another one, IBRD, that gives soft loan, and that's commercial. So it depends if you go to World Bank, what do you want? You want to do commercial, you want to grant, or you want investment fund? So it depends where you are. For us, during the time we were trying to build our economic base during the 72, 73, we used IBRD, where you get soft loan and concession loans. But because if you recall your finance, the Modigliani Miller concept is that if you borrow, I don't know if you've got a check or whatever. You got a check? I can show something.
Okay. Oh, sure. Do you have a marker? I might have one in my bag.
I'm sorry.
I do.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
I'm prepared.
This is your pie, and then you're trying to borrow. Let's say this is 30%. This is 70%. Let's say this one is 50%. This one is 50%. Let's say this one is 10%. This one is 90%. According to Modigliani Miller, if this one is your equity and this one is your loan, whatever years you give, you are not going to pay back. Forget it. You are done. If this one is your equity, this one is your loan, you will try to work very hard to make your economy grow very fast, so much that you can pay back. You might manage, but also you still have a lot of risk. This type one here, this one is good. If you have 50% and you have 50%, certainly you're going to pay back, because that interest which you recycle will never stop at this point. I think this is what you do every day. You know this. So most of our countries, why they will never be able to pay? Why they'll never be able to pay? Because they had 10% and they wanted 90% from IBRD. We are the case. So that's why we're saying that we want complete debt eradication. Because we did not take the money for the booze. We took the money to invest for the development of people. I don't know if I answered the question.
So does the World Bank ever, well, you said you use IDA, that's the grants?
Yeah, no, the World Bank does not give you conditionality because they're just bad guys. No, they're in business. If you go to IBRD, you're serious that you're going for a business loan. And the condition of business loan, those guys are not in the church. They want money back from to them. And they have to run their office, they have to pay salaries, they have to meet their costs. Therefore, they give you a cap. So it's you're supposed to negotiate what are better terms for you. Fortunately and unfortunately for us, we didn't have enough experts in finance to foresee some of these things at that time. So we had inadequate capacity to tell which is which. Because when they come to tell you, as IBRD, they do it because they want to make money. It's their business. So they can convince you that it's a good thing you're doing. But you have to make sense of what you're trying to do.
Okay, so you guys avoided the trap.
So you get in a trap, and then you say that we are not going to be able to pay the debt. That's the truth. And we want complete debt eradication because we are doing that because we found the country empty. Maybe the world will listen to us. Maybe they will not. But we will not be able to pay $8 billion. We're not there. Forget it. We are going to. It's going to grow up to $20 million if we're not helped now. So we need to be helped now. Another question? Yes, madam.
Another question. You mentioned that people have a lot of land.
Yes.
Tanzania, and then they lease it. You can lease it 33, 66, or 99 years.
Let me tell you the concept of land in
Yeah.
Tanzania.
If you can kind
We
of.
lend a lot in the world. We lend that the only Nyerere told us in 1963 that the only thing which you can have is land, good governance,
Smart people
smart people,
and no corruption.
and leadership. No corruption. Forget it. And but we lend from different countries. I'm sorry, I'm going to give example of countries. I'm a diplomat, I'm not supposed to do so, but I'll give examples. There are countries where if you have a land, everybody has a land forever. Everybody has a land forever. Look at that scenario. What does it mean? Your baby will not have a land. Everybody's baby will not have a land. Because the land is owned by people who are there and they're not giving out for good. They were born without land. And how did they get this right to have land forever? It's preposterous. So we said that if you want a land in Tanzania, every citizen has the right to land. You can lease the land for 33 years if you're building a house, and you can renew, no problem. And you can lease the land for medium-based business for 66 years, and you can renew. And for large, big business, big investment, how you can lease for 99 years, and you can renew. Is that bad? So theoretically, every Tanzania has a land.
So as a government, so there's no real estate revenue coming from reselling the
You lease.
property.
Just lease. The
There's
real estate are there.
leasing.
They
There's
lease, yes.
revenue for
The
that.
government give you a contract to have a land for the real estate is 66 years. 66 years and a half. And yeah.
Can,
Sorry.
so can foreign? Is it only nationals? Can foreigners get these leases if they want to start a business?
Even foreigners, they do. They get land.
Similar
You
to the
lease.
UK.
Sorry?
Similar to the UK, they do that too.
Yeah, I was not aware of that. Yeah. Yeah. For us, we studied so many countries. What happened later, and then we found that you're going to be crazy because who has the right to the land? And everybody comes without land.
Yes, but you're paying taxes on the house or the building.
Yeah, you're paying.
You're paying taxes on that.
You are
That's the
paying
question
tax of
you're-
that land, of course.
Yeah, but not on the.
We put it so small because we don't want our people to fail to have land or to have a homestead because they're poor. Then you can't deny them even the land to live and even the house to. They cannot have a home, So you give a tax which is affordable for given the economy scale. Yes.